Montel.
Go for it,
shit.
man. On that Montel shit, that
This is how we do
Montel
it.
Williams or Montel Jordan, because you're on like a talk show, but this is how we do it, so it's like a hybrid of Montels.
I mean, I think we all know what Montel said. This is how we do it. I mean, Montel Williams didn't do that shit.
I mean, Montel Williams might have said that though once or twice in his life.
Probably said it.
It's probably. You know, this is how we do it. That was on Def Jam. That wild. That's wild.
Is that just old people jokes right here? Is that
No,
what we're
seriously.
doing?
I'm dead serious. This is how we do it. It was on Def Jam. Montel Jordan was on Def Jam.
Of course.
You knew. Most people don't know that shit.
Man, Montel was everywhere.
Montel was everywhere.
With his 6'7" ass.
Well, right now we're here, the Chris Tash Podcast.
Yes, sir.
I'm with the homie Mike from Infuzed Productions. Came out here in a snowstorm, braved the crazy weather of the snowstorm to come on out here.
Man, it's New England. If you're not out here in the snow, then just keep your ass home anyway.
Still out here though. You already know, man. You already know. You passed me some of this stuff right here.
Yes, sir.
What am I about to let up?
So, man, and this is what I've been holding off. If you see this lovely yellow bag right here, I had a whole gift for you. So,
well, no. Okay, you want to do that now? All right.
we're gonna do that right now.
Perfect.
So,
I love this. I love gifts.
and of course, we had to break into it early because my man needed to have a joint ready for the show, because we were just gonna present him with some weed at the start of the show. But all right, he's already on it. So he got some white truffle. But everything that I'm bringing you today
check us out.
is due to this partnership right here. Shout out to Rax Cannabis. Shout out to my man Stacks and the whole crew over there.
Get a shot over here.
Coming through.
Get a shot over here. That boom.
So yeah, man, we working on getting some legal product into the dispensaries with a.
Where is Rax out of?
My man's out of Philly, but he's traveling everywhere, man.
Okay.
You could check out his show, Life with Stacks.
Where we find that at?
Find it on YouTube. Find it everywhere. aagng.com will bring you to absolutely everywhere you want to go. That's the manager's site. He controls it all. Shout to Toxic too. But yeah, man, we're working on some strains. I created 6 of my own strains last year, and we're trying to get them into the licensed market. In the meantime, it's about marketing and getting the word out there that this should exist. So
this is this is a collaboration that you have with some guys from Philly.
That is correct.
Pretty dope.
Some artists out of Philly, man. And he does rap. He does
some artists. Okay, I was gonna ask, how did you meet these guys?
I met them through doing events.
You know
what I mean? So they had hit me up to try to be part of. I believe it was Carney Roll was the first one.
Okay.
And then followed up.
Did they perform there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
word.
We got them on the bill for the grass.
Greener. The roll up.
Yes, sir. So listen, this is for you, my man. I want you to dig in. There's a few gifts in there. Some of them you might want to leave in the bag till after. I'm not really sure what kind of show this is, man. So just look carefully, peruse through.
All right.
But this is a little something for you.
We got some. What kind of cannabis is in these?
So right now, this is white truffle.
White truffle.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Which we did just test at MCR Labs. Came back in the low 20s with a super high terp profile, but that's what I'm talking about.
It's a beautiful, beautiful purple.
That's some sexy weed right there. That's all grown locally, handled with love and care. None of that Cali booth pack shit.
Well, I see the color of your shirt and the color of your hat, and I know personally that you happen to like the color purple. I mean, your gun right here, and
I fuck with purple, man. Infused Productions got me on the whole purple kick, so
we have a cookie right here.
Yep.
Okay.
You know what's in it. A little bit of weed in there.
A little bit of weed in there.
Mm-hmm.
We got a rolling tray. Oh, Bada Bloom. There we go.
So Bada Bloom, they're on the come up, man.
Yeah.
They grow some fire.
I know Mike and Tara well.
I was gonna say, if you know Mike, you've seen some of his weed. They're putting out some fire.
I met Mike and Tara through events and shit like that, obviously, but through Eric. Eric Martin is the one who. Was one who,
Okay.
So when we did our Super Bowl party in Boston last year with Eric, Mike was the guy who did the dab table and shit.
Oh, word.
Yeah, he was the cannabis sponsor for our event last year. For the Super Bowl
so they were one of our big sponsors for this last Christmas event we did out in Boston, and man, I got to meet the whole crew, and I got to see some of dude's weed and rosin.
Yeah, he makes really good hash.
Oh my God.
Mike makes really, really good hash.
Yeah.
Mike's always good to like hand you some here's some I personally like old school hash.
Right.
Like I know they got like all this new hash and the new I see all the syrups and it's sticky and they look beautiful.
For sure.
But I like that fucking ball of hash.
Put a little lighter to it, crumble some off into your bowl and shit.
Dude, like, fucking those shit you used to have when you were like, I want to say a kid, but like that's almost what I mean. Like that same. But now they know how to make it better.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was. I'm sure it was good back then too. But I don't. You don't remember, I guess. But like was that good? You don't remember. But
everything is so refined now, right? Like before, yeah, you just beat some keef off of it, put a little hot water over the top, roll that shit up, and you had hash.
Dude, they fucking sift it out like so beautifully now. It's almost like high end baking.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like when you see like that fucking like the food is art shit.
Yeah.
Like, but it tastes like it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that shit. Like you're eating like blueberry jellied fucking clam eggs, and you're like, I would never eat this, but like, all right. And then you eat it, and you're like, what the? You're like that shit. Yeah. That's what that hash is like. Yeah. But now they've actually gotten some of that hash that you can like. It almost like tastes like pineapples, or it tastes like oranges.
Yo, some of the terp profiles on all this stuff, and again, like depending on where you're getting it from, some of it might have some added terps or some strange things going on, but man, even some of the flower, like I grew some grape diamonds recently, which is one of the crosses I did with this Rax brand. Bro, straight grape soda. It's like popping a goddamn grape soda. It's crazy. Some of the terp profiles that we're into now are wild, bro.
It's like when you actually taste the real runts, and you're like, oh shit, this tastes like this is what runts taste like. Oh, okay, this is why they call it runts. You know what I'm saying? Or the zittles. You know what I'm saying? Like the same shit. Like. Some of these things, even some of the flavor profiles now are getting really weird, like soy sauce and like fucking like steak and cheese sub and shit. You know what I mean? You're like fucking like it's just all over the place. But
yep, and I'm still waiting for just that old school skunk. I know we got all these flavors out here now, all this fire, different kind of bud, but still can't find that super old school, just punch in the face, scare people when you walk in the room skunk.
Is that what you like?
I feel like it just brings me back to a time that was.
Are you talking about skunk like? I'm thinking of diesels, like the old diesels. Is that more what you mean? Like
and that's where it came from.
Like a fucking sour, like an old I haven't seen sour diesel in a long fucking time, man.
Bro, I just remember walking into rooms and people just being offended that you even came in the room smelling like that.
Yeah,
like, that's the type of smell that I wanna find. So anybody who got the skunk, please come find us. Enter one of the cups. We got a bunch of cups coming up. Man, we need that old school skunk.
Well, after let's break the rest of this bag, and then I do want to get into some of those cups you're talking about.
Yes.
So I see some of this shit. I got some infused stickers. I got some infused cookies.
Of course.
I got the infused hat. Okay. All right.
Hello, beanie. It's winter
time. All right. It is.
It is. And
we got we got another pack in here.
Okay.
Don't want to know that one. And what's this guy?
That was a little sample from, I believe that's 8 Rod Gardens Bud, who was one of the winners from the Grumpy Cup.
Okay.
Who helped sponsor this Christmas event too. I had teamed up with.
Oh shit! You got a whole bunch of stuff in there.
Couple fellas out there.
What do we got right here?
I think that was from Jake, the Average Joe Grow. I believe that was a sample from him. And then big shout to my man Gerardo,
Diablo Man.
The Diablo Man. He just started a whole line of pre-rolls that are in the legal market.
Hazelnut cream.
So for all of us old school cats, he was one of the first social equity participants in Massachusetts. And finally got up and running. He's working with my guy out of Boston Buds, Frank, and man, I'm proud of the dude. He's one of the ones who came from the grind, came from the hustle, and now look at
Dude, this smells amazing.
He got a sticker on it. He's in legal facilities all across Massachusetts, and it's just his foot in the door, man. He's in the legal business, which is what my goal is, and I think every grower should have the goal to be in that.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Everyone should aspire to be in the legal business at this point in time, because if you're not, you're really like, it's not cool to be. James Dean died, dude. It's not cool to be like. It's like, stop going against the grain. Like, go against the grain in your way, but understand the wave's coming.
Yes.
And dude, grab a surfboard, because like if you don't grab one and just surf your wave, like nobody, without saying too much, nobody in the fucking legacy market is sweeping the fucking floor anymore. No one's, it's not a thing anymore. Like, it's just not.
The game has changed, and I've been seeing the change coming for a while now. But definitely need the legacy growers in the market too, because a lot, as we all know, we've been to enough dispensaries to know it's not a bunch of blow your mind products out there.
No.
So
that is one of the problems.
That is one of the problems. And part of the problem is a lot of these legacy growers just have the shield up like, oh, I don't want no part of this legal market. You know what I mean? But the truth is, we need them to be part of the legal market to help step the game up for the legal market.
And the truth of the matter is, too, it's like, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm an advocate. I've been arrested for weed and shit. Like, I don't want to sit here and act like I'm like for the legal market or illegal market or whatever. But like, you get to a point where if this is going to be something that you could pass on to your children,
right?
If you want to actually build, like, take your skill set that you had in that illegal market and adapt and figure out a way that you can kind of move that over without having to, like, sacrifice your integrity in any kind of way, but also not going to jail.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And I have my door kicked in too. I've been raided for an illegal grow in the past, so I'm a social equity participant in Mass. Like, I've been through that whole thing too, and I would love to see, like, some of the best growers we know are what we would consider legacy market growers, man.
Absolutely.
And so if you are a legacy market grower and you want to get a foot in the door, listen, I talked to all the lawyers. I've done the licensing process. The only reason I'm not licensed right now in Massachusetts is because of my felonies from being raided. And so I've got one more year to wait before I can reapply. But as of right now, I'm still in the queue. I'm applying for a delivery license in Massachusetts. So I'm working the angles, man. And anybody who doesn't see this tidal wave, like you said, like, the wave is coming. The legal market is going to take over, and it's going to leave a lot of people in the dust. Like, even the market has changed from what we know it as. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of middlemen. There's a lot of hustlers. That shit's still going to happen. But the prices have gone to the floor. We've seen the Cali crash, right? Like, the whole race to the bottom for the market is taking over the black market. I mean, there's pounds out in New York right now, $300-$400, man. Like, that's wild.
It's even worse in Oklahoma.
Right.
Hold on, are you all right?
This keeps overheating, and this has changed.
Okay, so the reason it might be overheating is, when you change the frame rate, did you put it on like fucking like 4K?
60 frames. I didn't change.
It just has to be on 1080, because that should be like it's really that's overheating for real.
Yep. And then this is doing that shit again.
Why the fuck would that be overheating? How the fuck?
Damn.
No, that should not be overheating. I don't understand why it would be overheating. Definitely shouldn't be. You know why? Check why. I know why. I get it. It's not overheating. It's not what's going on.
It's what it said before it turns off.
It's that cord right there. I'll bet anything on it. That's a fucking Amazon cord. I'll bet anything on it. That fucking cord isn't worth. Watch. Can you switch back to this camera right now? It's on? It's on? Yeah, see, where's shit up? Watch.
I've been fighting these cameras for the last 10 minutes.
I've seen you going, it's all good. Don't mind about it, man.
No,
I was going to try for a little bit and see if you could figure it out before I jumped in. All right, you got it. Dang, now, if we look in the back of this, right? Come in. Look in the back of this.
Yep.
Does this have like is it charging right now?
It's just a flower and a camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you the actual thing. So these don't have to be recording.
Yep.
Like, the camera itself doesn't need to be recording.
Mm-hmm.
This camera itself doesn't need to be recording.
No, I know.
Okay, I'm just making sure you know that. All right, so no, up there. See the. You slide in here. Let me slide where you went. Like, I can't. if I leave this off here, I'm gonna leave it off here because he's gonna be in about 40 minutes anyway, so it won't go through the whole battery. Check us out. If I leave this off, right? Oh, fuck this. Still plugging in today. And watch it. So now it's gonna be on video, right?
Yep.
Video. It's all touchscreen right now. Check it out. Is that? Watch it go back. Check it.
Yep.
Video. That's wide.
Yep.
You want it wide. You want it linear. Super view. We want to keep it wide. So that's me and him right there. Okay. Bang. All right. Video. 1080, 16, 930. You want it to be
60 if you can.
You want 60, I can get to that. Frame rate 60.
Yes.
See how easy this shit is, like when this thing's not plugged into it. So keep it on 1080 so it doesn't overheat. Alright, let me just go back. Keep that back. Alright, so now we got 97% of the battery right here. I'm just gonna leave this plugged in right here, so you can just, now this will be up right here when I plug this in, so you can just do it here. You won't have to do it up. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I know. I'll show you how to do the other thing afterwards. I get it. I'll explain it. I'll explain it to you later on. It's easy to do on the whole thing, but we're not going to do it right now.
Gotcha.
Just give a second. I'm going to show you how to get over to it, and then it'll be super easy to now navigate it. Okay?
Yeah, I know this part.
Looks good. Fucking.
Damn, I should have brought a sticker for the table.
Yeah, man.
Stuff like
I figured you would have known. I got a bunch of stickers to give you when we leave. All right, now we gotta go to this. See, now I'm doing that on this side. To get, look at. Okay, I don't know if you. Okay, so you know how to use. Okay, I'm just making sure. I don't know what you know.
That part, but I was wondering if you could do that part on the camera without it plugged in. That's what I was trying to do because it changed.
You can, but it's like I'll show you in the menu and shit. It's a pain in the ass to do, but you can.
It's funny. The worst camera's been the most reliable so far.
I saw you. Yeah.
This little motherfucker right here.
Yeah. Well, that's weird. The funny thing is, can you go back to this? You might need to frame me out back in this. He's framed. You might need to frame. I might have like moved that.
See, it's off. What the fuck is wrong with this? It gives a warning and it says overheating. You want me to change the?
No, it's not hot.
It's weird.
Fuck, it's not even warm.
Pull the battery out.
You can't pull the battery. It has to have a battery in it. You see the battery over there? No, batteries are hot either.
No, that's what I was wondering.
What the fuck are you talking about? You see the battery in there?
Sony battery. Where would that be?
It's the big one, the bottom. You can't miss it. This battery's full. It's a 95. No, this battery's full. Should be no problem with this. Okay, because this doesn't need to be.
I mean, I can.
No.
We can just change everything to.
No.
The battery has to be in when the cord's plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a decent?
What's gonna happen, right? Yeah, that's how it's driving. What's gonna happen is.
The battery should get us through the show.
It's fine. I don't. It's not like feel the camera. The camera's not. It's not hot.
I did when it said that. I was like, you're not even hot.
It's not even hot. This motherfucker might get hot sometimes. You filming fucking 4K with that bitch gets fucking hot.
That's crazy.
Like hot. Like you fucking like, ooh, you touch with your fucking hand, you burn.
And then there's also this thing with DSLR cameras. They tend to shut off.
I know what you're saying, but this is on video mode. So an A7, right, is a video camera and an actual photography camera.
Good.
All right, so you have video mode. See video mode there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on video mode. That won't shut off. Even if I want to, right? I'll go into the fucking menu, right? So it's gonna be. Make sure this thing doesn't shut. It's like no menu on here. File format. So you know, the menus in these fucking things are amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for settings. Which one you want that? Exposure, playback target, area date. 1, 2. Media, recording media settings. Recording media settings. Slot 1, recording. Display media. Slot 1. Visualization. Yeah, it's not on. There's no.
Should I stop the recording?
Yeah.
Hello, people.
Recording now.
It's us again.
It's us again. Back. Nah, a couple stoners, so fucking up a little bit here and there, but that's all right.
Yo, we could just blame the new tech guy if that makes you feel better.
It will make me feel better, actually.
All right, yo, man, step your game up over here, man. We brought you in here to fix all these problems.
You know what I mean? The fuck am I paying you for? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, wait. Oh, see, now you just dug yourself a
Yeah.
hole, man. This man is going to get up and walk the fuck out of here.
Yeah. He can't. I picked him up.
Yeah.
It's snowing outside.
And he just got a joint, too. At least he got a joint.
You got a joint. He got a joint.
I don't know what else you could ask for.
He got a joint. He's good. He's good. Fucking, so we were talking about your man, how you were talking about your man Diablo. What was it? Diablo joints? What the fuck do things go?
Diablo pre-rolls.
Diablo
yes,
pre-rolls.
Sir.
And how it's pretty dope and how people are now going to the legal market.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about how there's a stigma about that, about a whole bunch of people in this market that like don't really want to drag your feet. But it kind of reminds me of like when like the internet first came out. And like, you know how like your uncle was like too cool to like fucking be on the internet, and then like 10 years later he couldn't figure out how to get a job because he didn't know how to fucking put his resume online type shit.
Yeah, pretty
it's like
much.
one of those fucking things.
Right.
Like people right now, it's like, yeah, nobody wants the legal market obviously to take over because everyone was doing well and everything like that and that whole shit.
Of course.
And for what it's worth, the legal market kind of like pushed out people that shouldn't have been pushed out. You know what I'm saying? Like because of felonies and whatnot.
Yep.
Felonies because of weed.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah, no, I mean, it's not all perfect. You know what I mean? There's definitely, bad pieces to the legal market, including all the big MSOs that think they could just come over and take over a market that, we created here in Massachusetts. You know what I mean? So, yeah, by no means is it perfect. And there's some legal entities that I just straight up won't fuck with.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would be happy to sit on camera and trash them, to be honest with you. But, you know what I mean? For me, it's more about, all right, what they did. Now, what can we do? And mainly myself as a grower, as somebody who's creating their own strains with all these partnerships like with Rex Cannabis, like what can we do to elevate ourselves? And I think that's the piece that some of these underground folks aren't necessarily looking at. Yeah, they're happy making and growing and doing their own thing. However, 5-10 years down the road, when the black market all but dries up, where does that leave us? And so
you just got to adapt. And like the whole thing is cannabis it's so new, you can literally do almost anything in the space. Right. You know, it doesn't have to be growing cannabis. It doesn't have to be selling cannabis. It could be, all these different fucking things you can do in the cannabis space that you're not even touching cannabis.
I feel like my man's a professional because I think he just led us right to the whole conversation right here because, listen, yeah, man, I'm a grower and I do all these things, but since I couldn't get in the legal industry, I had to find a way to pivot. And I had to find a way to still work within the industry that I care about and love and feel like I helped create, and just find other ways to work, right? Like think of the gold rush. It wasn't the dudes with the gold. It was the dudes selling picks and shovels. There's plenty of ways to make money in the cannabis space. You're using up papers right now. Look at one of the most successful businesses is Raw, right? They don't have nothing to do with weed, but they're doing pretty damn well, aren't they? So yeah, man, there's definitely transitions for those who can't necessarily get into the cannabis space like myself, but still want to be part of the ride, right? So
let's back up with you particularly. Okay, so like, what's your story? Like, how did you start? Like, first time you smoked cannabis, how'd you get it? Where'd you get it from? How was it?
Okay, first time I smoked cannabis was with my brother, and I have an older brother, 2 years older than me, right? So that was the cool kid crew, right? They were out there smoking blunts and doing all this, and of course I was the dare kid, like I would never. But one day he had me stand in this big ass refrigerator box with him and the crew, and I wasn't smoking at the time. He was just like, "No, just come hang out with us." And of course,
how old are you?
How old are you between 7th and 8th grade?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I was that age. So what are you,
13, 12, 13, 14,
yeah, somewhere in there.
there.
So, yeah, just come hang out in the box. You don't need to smoke. I know you don't smoke. That's fine. Just come hang out. So I'm hanging out in this refrigerator box, and there's like 4 or 5 dudes passing around 3 blunts. We're all just shoulder to shoulder in that bitch. And I came out of that box a changed man, bro. Like, I definitely got that secondhand high.
You're talking blunts too, so you're talking about probably 94, 4, 5, or 6, because that's like when Philly's blunts really came on the fucking scene. Because hip hop was huge, and
Yes,
if like
sir.
blunts weren't a thing until like all of a sudden they were a fucking thing.
They were a thing, and it was the Philly blunts.
It was
and
Philly.
You
It
had
was
to break them open. You had to take out that cancer, right? You remember the little back piece motherfuckers would take? They would call that the cancer.
Bro, I forgot all about that.
Like, bro, listen, the whole shit is cancer. What are we doing here? Like
all about
that little back piece, I think, is the part that's supposed to put the cigar out.
That probably stops the cancer. It's like that's the cancer filter.
That was an anti-cancer and shit.
Dude, I forgot. You take that like little darker piece
that
off.
little dark piece. So anyway, that's what got me started, is just standing there, caught the secondhand high, and then just sitting, chilling, eating some chips, watching some TV. Like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. And you asked about the weed. We all know what the weed was.
It was
man.
crap.
It was, bro, half of your bag was seeds and stems. Literally half of it. Whatever you bought, just know that if it was 14, you're getting 7 seeds and stems. Man. That's just what it was.
And you take a notebook piece of paper and like you put all the weed up there and you like flick it.
Yep, you gotta
like,
tap that.
And all the fucking seeds would roll down to the bottom.
Yep.
It's crazy because if that happened now, like some of the weed you get, like people pay $50, $60, $100 for some of these fucking seeds nowadays.
And like, let's think about it too. Where it's the best strain, the most well-known strain in the world right now, to me, would be ChemDog, right?
Okay, yeah.
And where did that originate? That was found in 3. There was 3 seeds found in a random bag of weed, and so those.
I don't know anything about that. What are you talking about?
So the dude.
So ChemDog is from Massachusetts.
Correct. So his name is Greg. He's the originator of the strain, and now you see that brand everywhere. He's growing legally for a couple dispensaries out here and everything. But no, the story goes basically he was at a Grateful Dead show, bought a bag of weed out there, found 3 random seeds. One turned into ChemDog, one turned into Sour Diesel, and the third one I can never remember. But you don't need to, because he already got 2 of the best 3
Jesus
on
Christ.
the goddamn planet. So. And you can see interviews about all this. He talked at Harvest Cup and all these other places and kind of explained the story about how he went from popping the seed to he wasn't the best grower, so he gave some to his friend. He gave a clone over here, and it just kind of grew into something that now we know as one of the most well-known strains on the planet. So yeah,
that's dope. That's like the I was telling him the other day too, maybe yesterday. It reminds me of the same thing. Dave Chappelle. Have you seen the new special?
I haven't seen the new one.
It's great, but at the one of the points that he's talking about with it is the joke is like how he's a strong dream, and like he's living his dream, and like whoever the strongest dream in the room is living the dream. He's like, until he met like Lil Nas X, he's like, that motherfucker is like, I realized I was in his dream. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with the whole meeting and shit. But at the end of it, he just talks about how like he's a very strong dream. Doesn't matter like he's gonna, no matter what you say, I know what I am.
Right.
So when you apply that from a little seed to, I mean, you really can't get to a smaller metaphor for this, right? I mean, like you're literally starting at a fucking seed.
Yeah, for sure.
And all that turns into ChemDog, which is I don't know if it's a globally known, but it might be.
Yeah.
It might. I mean, if any of them are, it's one of them.
ChemDog has 1 cups out in Amsterdam. I know it as a strain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can buy chem seeds from so many various different places, and just about every strain that we love. If you backtrack it somewhere along the line, it was probably crossed with chem or with Sour Diesel or one of these original strains. You know what I mean? So
it's just crazy that comes from like one brain, one seed, one bag. And it's not crazy because like I know that you've probably seen people in your life that have lived the dream. Like people in your life that are absolutely living their dream because all they did was they just tried.
Yeah. And I think he's the perfect example. And I think what he did back in our day where everybody was trying to hide, right? Like, everybody now has a brand. Look, I could come bring this brand out and try to flash it and show it. Back in that day, though, we were all trying to hide. Like, we didn't want nobody to know what we had or where we got it. So I think what he did early on was market, right? And he might not have even thought about it, but to create the name ChemDog, to have a logo. I still see people with the old school ChemDog shirts, and I'm like, yeah, this guy knows what's up. You know what I mean? Like, so he created a brand, probably without even realizing, that became this like global phenomenon of a strain, right? So that's something that you got to give all the credit in the world to at a time where nobody was doing it.
It's not even a time when no one was doing it. And I've talked to Danny Danko about this as well, that like high times at one point in time, like the feds would kick the door in and they'd go to jail for writing about cannabis. Yep. So like at a time when that was a thing, like you would do fed time for wearing a cannabis T-shirt, right, and creating to do it at that time is like balls to the fucking wall. Like you're a crazy person.
And
in the best way,
of course, and of course, in that same vein, yeah, he was rated. He had fed charges. He had all that stuff based on the fact that now he put his face to a brand.
Not even like because like they found him with weed, because like now you're just branded as weed paraphernalia.
Pretty much.
Which is crazy. No, I was literally talking to Danny about that, like how the doors would get kicked in by the government and they'd get like raided. And they were a fucking magazine, dude.
Of course. And
we were growing weed in the office?
Right. and we think like that, oh, that's all so old, right? Like it's a new
age. Dude, that was 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
It really wasn't that long ago. And even a more recent example would be the whole Tommy Chong thing with bongs.
With bongs, glass bongs, yeah.
They threw this man in actual jail for
Tommy Chong
selling
too.
glass, bro.
Tommy Chong of all fucking people. Like,
you know what I mean?
It's like he's obviously like everything Tommy Chong does is like cannabis, right? Like there's no I was surprised.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's more like if Tommy Chong didn't have cannabis with them, that would be more like he's like one of those Snoop or Willie Nelson. Like you expect these guys to.
Of course. And they've branded themselves with that in mind, right? And again, we think about it back then, and it was so taboo to even try to associate yourself with cannabis in that way. Whereas now, every rapper, every musician, everybody who has an identity, they want to have a strain. They want to have an association with it because now it's a multi-billion-dollar legal industry.
It's
right.
I just saw that Rhode Island hit 100 million. Dude, Indiana, $2 billion in 2023. $2 billion fucking dollars. The state of Indiana made in cannabis sales.
That's wild.
That's fucking crazy.
That's wild.
And it is crazy. You were just saying every rapper and whatnot. It makes me think going back to like, do you remember like the Chronic? You remember the Dr. Year, the Chronic, the first?
Of course.
You remember the Dana Number G thing video?
Yes, of
They
course.
all had the weed hats on,
yes,
but they were blurred out.
Yep.
They were all blurred out.
Yep,
Like they couldn't show a weed leaf on TV.
Yep.
And Snoop almost like single-handedly like changed that.
Pretty much.
Which is wild when you think about that shit. Like almost single-handedly. Like not that he wasn't single-handedly, but like he was the big part of that fucking spear, man. He like.
Man, we used to have to hide the Chronic CD from like teachers and shit. You couldn't just show up to school with a Chronic CD. Like
no, you couldn't. You couldn't wear like the shirt. You couldn't wear like you literally. He put the hat on in the video and it had a fucking blurred out fucking weed patch on it, and like the Warren G at one point is holding up a blunt. And they black out like it's a big black circle. Not even the squigglies. It's like a black circle of him like. And then when you see the video now, he's just holding. Like we thought, I didn't know what the fuck that was growing up. Like you assume it's a gun. You don't even know the gun actually is the gun in the video is just blurred out.
Right.
You can still see it's a gun. You know what I mean? But it's just blurred. The joint is a big. I don't know if you remember this shit. It's a big fucking black circle over the. It was like Warren G's a kid.
I remember the hats. But
he's like fucking. He holds it up. He's like, eh. And I never knew what that was. And he's holding up a fucking joint, a blunt, a Philly's blunt.
Just weed, man.
Dude, like weed. Fucking Biggie was even when they talked about like fucking bamboos, which are papers, like they blurred that shit out, but they could say private stock. You know what I mean? Like
of course.
Yeah, like it's in the same bar.
Well, and. It's crazy. You know, alcohol has always been more globally accepted than weed has, but now we're starting to see that change, right?
Yeah.
Like we are, and it's crazy to think that we are in the like infancy of legalization, right? Like we have all been messing with weed for 20, 30 years, most of us, right? But in the legal world and the acceptance world, this is brand new. It's brand new. There's so many businesses and corporations that still won't even do it. Banking. Bro, I've had 3 banks shut me down because of Infused Productions. Not even selling weed, not even holding weed, nothing to do with it. But I do events. And I have a weed leaf on my logo, and they're like, nope, come pick up your check. We saw your Instagram, and we can't do it. So it is still so brand new to like the legal and the acceptance world. But it is changing, and alcohol sales have dipped so much since the legalization of weed. I'm happy to see all that. I think we all know what leads to deaths, what leads to the biggest problems. I know some of the biggest problems that occurred in my life were due to alcohol. I never smoked a joint and was like, I'm going to go do some dumb shit. No.
Well, I've done a lot of dumb shit smoking weed, but it's usually like on my couch and like watching YouTube or something.
There you go. Yeah, you're not getting in trouble, though.
Eating a whole fucking gallon of ice cream in one sitting. Like,
and you're damn sure not driving and killing and all the other messed up shit that happens on top.
What it just crossed my mind as you were saying it that I'd never really even thought about before was because maybe the reason why alcohol's going out and cannabis is coming in is because America has, like, even though a lot of it's unhealthy, like it's clearly unhealthy, but there's a big segment of the population that has moved towards like health, which like there wasn't health when I was a kid. That didn't exist. Like no one knew any of that shit. Exercising was very rudimentary. You know what I'm saying? Like now there's diet plans and diets and all types of shit. As people move towards that, calories of alcohol.
Right.
Like just it killing you, like in that, like heart disease and all that shit. Like people just getting away from that part of it is kind of a funny like thing. Like who knew that like weed was gonna make people healthy?
And beyond that, right? Like
we know. I'm talking to you. We know. I didn't mean to cut you, but we know that weed is somewhat good for you. Like, cause we know like there's all the medical. But when we were growing up. That was not what we were told in any kind of way, shape, or form.
No, we are products of the DARE program.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's funny that 20 years later, it's like, hey, get healthy, pick up a joint.
Absolutely. And there's some personal stories I could talk about, including family members of mine. Like my stepdad, for instance, he was one of 6 children. He was the only cannabis user his whole life. He's also the only one who didn't die of cancer. He's a 70-plus-year-old man. All his siblings, his parents, everybody in the family passed away from cancer. And I don't think it's coincidental that the only steady cannabis user didn't. And we all now know through science and research how effective cannabis can be on cancer, right? Like you put weed and cancer in a petri dish and weed wins. Like it's facts now. You know what I mean? I've seen it myself. I'll show you.
Mike Robinson, he beat stage 4 cancer 3 times.
And
Tommy Chong.
Exactly.
Tommy Chong, yeah.
And of course his cancer came back when they threw him in jail. Right? And then he got back out, started his regimen. So I personally, through my other business, Massachusetts Caregivers, have been donating RSO to cancer patients for years. And I've seen 100%. And I'll show you. I'll show you the MRI.
No, tell us about this. Yeah, please.
But we've shrunken tumors just with RSO. I have seen on an MRI at a hospital the tumor go and shrink up to 80%. This dude didn't do chemo, didn't do nothing.
And you saw that with your eyes.
I saw that with my own eyes, and I saw it because I was the one producing the medicine. I know how easy this is to do, and how much it gets swept under the rug because it can be called anecdotal evidence, right? Like, oh, it might have worked for him, but you can't say it globally. And it's only because it's not written in a scientific medical journal, which is starting to change, right? But listen, I remember being locked up and having the nurse come in and she would do seminars for everybody about health and about all these things. And I remember talking to her about weed and the medical benefits and what I had seen with the cancer research. And just being laughed at in front of a whole group of grown-ass men. This lady's like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. And it's like, I think about that lady all the time. I hope she's at home right now looking up some cancer research and realizing that there is a medical benefit. And if there wasn't, right, how could we call it medical marijuana, right? Massachusetts has a medical program for marijuana.
Did you see that the federal government, I think today or yesterday, they're just going to put it down to Schedule 3. I mean, we don't know if it's going to happen or not yet, but I mean, it's on the table.
It is.
And I didn't see, there was some senator, I forget who he was. He was pissed. He was yelling about how they fucked it all up and they're taking too long with it and should have already been done. And he was an old guy.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, oh shit, old guy on this fucking thing now. Okay, like.
And there'll be some good and some bad that come with that Schedule 3 thing. And I think it will open the door for a lot of these bigger business, like Marlboro, for instance. You know they're trying to get in the weed game. Nobody's smoking butts no more.
Yeah.
So they got to do something. I've already heard that they're trying to establish themselves with grows and turn all those tobacco fields into weed fields. So, Schedule 3 will open the doors for some of that bigger conglomerate.
If anything, though, maybe like fuck Marlboro, fuck the whole shit. Like of course, fuck them all the way to fucking whatever. Like all the way. Nothing good about them whatsoever. But it's still better if they turn all their tobacco fields into weed fields.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? 100%. Like fuck them.
But they'll find a way to fuck it up too.
Yeah.
They'll start spraying chemicals and doing all this other shit, which, I mean, that's part of the big problem with the weed world right now. Is you can buy a bag and listen. I've tested so many samples. Shout out to MCR Labs. Might as well throw them out there.
Yeah.
I've tested so many samples, bro, and I've seen firsthand. Even the growers that we love and fuck with, it's hard to pass mass state regulations for testing right now. Their testing is harder than like organic grow testing. Like the tests that they have in place are damn near impossible to pass. So that's why almost everything at the dispensary and all these places is remediated. They're literally nuking it, bro.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
That's that makes sense. I mean, it's
a sad truth for the industry, and when you have people making policies that don't understand the product that they're trying to create the policy on, this is what happens, right? We have an over-regulated market with people that don't necessarily understand even what they're regulating.
That comes along with the fact that everyone knew it was going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry as soon as it opened up, because that's what it was. As soon as they knew the money was going to come, shit was going to. But this is how cannabis drugs have always been a high seller. Yeah. Like I don't know if you've heard of cocaine, but big huge seller in America. Does great on the street. Heroin's another one. Fucking amazing. Customers everywhere. Fucking you'd be surprised. I mean, like meth's another one. Customers. Bro, all over the place. Like states have fucking just thousands and thousands of these. I mean, it's just.
If there's one thing we know, and you just said it, is
alcohol.
Drugs will always sell, and regardless, people are always looking for an out, right? They're always looking for whether it's a quick fix or just to feel better. No matter what you want to call it, people need that out.
See, okay, so when people with the sober crowd, like in the whole thing, this sober shit and everything, people say. When they quit drinking, and I'm almost at 2 years now, no drinking.
Yes, sir.
Do you drink?
Nah,
not really. But when I talk to people about quitting, they're like, "Oh yeah, but you have this crutch to lean on because like it's still like," I'm like, weed doesn't make me like that. I also don't smoke cannabis to like escape.
Right.
Like I just like I'm a very high functioning person who's around, and like I don't know if that's just me that's anecdotal. You know what I'm saying? But like, I know a lot of people that like that's just not the case for.
Well, and I think listen, everybody has something, and there's something may not be a drug. There's something might be meditation. There's something, I don't know, might be just Wim Hof. I've been doing these ice baths lately, right? Like, you kind of have
like outside or inside.
Outside. I got a tub outside my house.
Like you fill it up with. Like hose water?
Yeah, straight water, and then I'll leave it sitting for a couple days, let it
like
ice
in this shit outside right now?
Right now.
So this is perfect for you right now.
Yeah, this is
You're like, yeah, this is
exactly
what I'm looking for.
Hell yeah.
How long you do that shit for?
I mean, I've been doing it for over a year now, but typically each individual bath, you're looking at between 4 to 6 minutes.
Oh,
in the
fuck
ice
you.
bath.
You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, no.
You're fucking crazy, man.
Bro,
you spend 4 to 6 minutes in freezing cold water?
Yeah, dog.
You're out of your fucking dream.
Yeah. And listen, and no bullshit. Like, you said cocaine. You know what they compare it to?
That.
Fucking cocaine, bro. It's kind of wild. Like, the endorphins that it releases and the good that it does for you is really dope. So, kind of getting back to the point of, like, listen, everybody has something. Maybe there's something as therapy, right? Maybe they just go talk to somebody. Everybody needs an outlet in whatever way that they find or deem okay in their mind.
I just meant more of, like, the it doesn't. Cannabis is a very low level hallucinogen. Like that's like if you like it's mushrooms is it's like
they call it that, man.
It's the surface level of like mushrooms. Like it's in my opinion, I don't know who else has said that. I'm sure other people do, but like that's just what I've always kind of felt it as. But I also don't have hallucinations off cannabis. Like I'm not like you know, that's just where I classify it as. But like I don't think cannabis is a mind altering drug.
Well, I mean, I think
it's a body altering drug. I'll give you that.
I think anything is. And again, it's like you could compare it to would you consider some of these pills that the doctors are giving mind altering drugs?
Oh yeah, most of them, yeah. 90% of them.
And again, like I think that no matter what, if you're taking something, it can be a mind altering drug. And maybe that mind altering is in a better way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I consider the ice bath to be my mind-altering drug right now.
I could see how that would definitely fucking...
It puts me in a different place, man. It allows me to go to somewhere I wouldn't typically go, which I think weed does for me at times, too. Like, especially if I'm in a stressful place or if I'm just having one of those days, like, I know I can smoke a joint and I'll just feel better, right? Is it altering the mind? It might be altering perception in certain ways. But I think some of that is for the better. Right? As you call it a mind-altering drug, people think of it like, oh, I'm going to lose my damn mind. And
I guess, like, it doesn't fuck you up.
Right.
That's what I mean by mind-altering. Like, it's not like...
It doesn't fuck us up. Let's say that. Because I do think with the potency of weed and now dabs and all these other things, and if you think about a upcoming user, one of these young kids, if they're starting on dabs, you're fucked up. I don't care who you are. Like...
Yeah, that's probably not the best thing to do is to start on dabs. I mean, right. Especially good ones.
And that's part of what I miss about the cannabis experience, honestly.
Some of these fucking edibles.
Yeah, I don't take them.
Yeah,
I take them
to go to bed. I don't do... When you just trying to say you missed that part of the cannabis experience, right?
I miss the balanced piece of cannabis because we talked about it in the opening about what that weed was back in the day. And we said all the seeds and all the stems. Well, guess what? We were smoking hemp, bro.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't full weed as we know weed today, this 20, 30%.
No.
It was more of a 1-to-1 ratio. It was probably 8% THC and 8% CBD. And we never knew that growing up. But I guarantee you find an old bag of seedy weed and go bring it to the lab and test it. You're not getting this 20, 30%. No. Not even close.
No.
You're getting somewhere around 5 to maybe 10% if you're lucky. And I think the balance from that cannabis is what kind of got us all intrigued and into it, really. I think if I was younger and I started with what today's weed is, I don't know that it would have the same appeal that it did to me.
That's a good point. Because I really do. I like, obviously we can get our hands on some pretty great cannabis. Yeah. I like sometimes having a nice like 10, 12. Like I like that shit. Like just, that's a good day weed. Like you don't, people are like, dude, I need 37%. I'm like, why? The fuck is like, it's just, it's, I get it, but that's like the equivalent of like, you know, let's just go to the bar, have a drink, and like you're fucking taking down like shots of fucking Jägermeister, but you're throwing them in a glass and drinking the shit. Like, what are we doing, dude? Like,
right. And it can be too much, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the old school weed, and there's people who like breed strains to go back to that now, that are trying to get back to that more balanced entourage effect. Because for me, when you have that lower amount of THC, higher CBD, CBG, CBN, all these other cannabinoids that are part of the plant that we all are now discovering, that high for me personally, that's what I want.
And the health aspect of that as well too, because like it does the body, man, it does a lot for the body.
For sure.
Like cannabis is a lot for the body.
Yep, and they're finding all those anti-inflammatory properties that are CBG and all these other things. It's wild.
Dude, some of them fucking lotions are like just, it's bananas. Like that shit, like you fucking have like almost a broken arm and you like put that shit on your arm and like 2 days later you're like, what the fuck, my fucking arm works. It's not all of them, but like you'll get a good one every now and then. You're like, holy fucking shit. Like you get you out of the wheelchair.
Oh, for sure.
It's crazy.
For sure. And it's good to finally have like science on our side in that way, right? Is the actual research that's being done with the plant and some of these other medicines. It's finally good to have that. And we haven't had it forever because you can't patent a plant. Like if you could patent nature, you think weed wouldn't have been on shelves 100 years ago, whatever the case may be? Like weed used to be huge in the hemp fields. Everything was made out of hemp, and all that went out when they made it illegal. So
It's crazy though, because they used to have it so you could, used to test on weed. We were talking about tests on weed earlier. So to get your weed like approved and everything like that, and to get you got to get medical studies done to prove that we could have, so Schedule 1 and Schedule 3, to prove that there was actual medical benefits to it. To do that, you actually have to get cannabis to do the study. Up until about like 10, 15 years ago, it was illegal to even do studies on cannabis. You had to get the cannabis from the University of Mississippi.
Right.
All the cannabis that you ever did tests on were grown in one fucking place by the government that you had to get a permit for, and they only gave out like one out of every like 2,000 fucking permits. So like it's crazy in a crazy way that now all those actual tests are getting done.
Yep.
That weren't getting done before, which is pushing this, because the government now allows, you can be, as long as you're an affiliated test site, you can now, you know what I'm saying, do all the research that had to be done at University of Mississippi a long time ago. But University of Mississippi.
So I got to shout out my guys at Canna Mountain. We're going to plan the Canna Mountain Fest this coming summer. First provisionally approved research facility in Massachusetts. So they're going to be able to grow medical cannabis and bring people in to test it directly on the customers. And that's something in Massachusetts that we haven't had till now, which I've been pushing for forever, because again, I've seen the results of RSO with cancer patients. We know the results of pain management. We know the results of all these different ailments that people might have. Seizures, right? Like think about the Charlotte's Web strain and why that became
Mike
so
Robinson.
big. So again, like we know that there's all this stuff out there that still hasn't been put in a medical journal. It's still considered anecdotal evidence and all these things. And so I'm looking forward to working with Canna Mountain in the future and making sure that this research is done, is recorded, and gets out there and continues to help people, because we've all seen it. Like I know I've seen it with my parents. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with cancer patients. The medical benefits, we probably haven't even tapped into what all of them are yet. Like it's still that new.
We haven't.
Where we've found a bunch of things that it does help with, and there's still gonna be more.
Every day they come up with a new cannabinoid.
Right.
So it's like there was CBD was a thing that you could buy at every gas station now.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago that wasn't even a word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So it's like no one even knew what that was.
Yeah.
So it's happening through all of it. It's like every other technology. Little by little, little by little, little by little. What got you into growing? Growing is such like a fucking specific thing that takes such care and time and energy and money. Why?
Man, I was never really a grower in my younger years, man. I didn't start that till I got older. What up, what up?
Just give us a few.
So, I got into growing probably around 2014, 2015. And it's only because I ended up splitting with baby mama, going out on my own, and kind of rediscovering myself, so to speak. And so it was my first opportunity I really had to dive into growing, in a big way. And so once I started doing it, I realized how therapeutic it was, first of all. It gave me kind of an outlet for what I needed anyway. I needed something to focus my attention on, something to care for, just kind of change up my lifestyle in a certain way. And that just, man, I just dove right in. I was newly single, and I needed a hobby in a bad way to stay out of trouble. Unfortunately, it didn't keep me.
I was going to say, which is funny.
The irony of that, right? Yeah. It didn't keep me out of trouble, but it definitely gave me a focus that I needed at the time. And I kind of just fell in love with it from that point, man. And then I got into breeding and creating.
I was going to say, because you're still doing that to this day, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a passion.
The breeding has turned into a passion. Growing, as you said, it's fucking hard, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not for everybody. There's so many issues that you can run into.
Every time people know that I'm like huge into weed, and they'll be like, "Oh, do you grow?" And I'm like, "You're out of your fucking mind. Like you've obviously never tried to do that before." It's like with a fish, people with a fish tank. Like, "Oh, you got fish?" It's like, You know how much work a fucking fish tank is? It's like same shit with growing, dude.
It is. It's a lot of work, and you can hit so many, obstacles along the way. There's,
And then the fucking rain, and it rains the last week, and your whole shit's fucking.
Oh, if you're outdoor,
fucking crazy.
Good luck.
Well, if you're indoor, it's $1 million because you got to pay for the electricity for the lights.
And it's getting worse because electricity's going up, price of the weed's going down. The industry as a whole has kind of flipped, and so you better be really damn good if you're gonna try to grow in any sort of way, especially in the legal market right now. Between the electric, the taxes, everything of how it's shaped, man, you got to be dialed in.
This year too is the biggest year for elections, in the history of the world. In America, there's more elections this year than there's ever been. In the world, there's more elections than there's ever been. So I know it's big for crypto this year, as like the elections and like all those regulations going through. And I'm bringing that up because I assume the same with the cannabis market is kind of the same trajectory, new thing, cool thing, hot thing that everybody wants a part of that for knows sure. is gonna, but doesn't really understand the dynamics of it yet, isn't really accepted by the government, but isn't against the government either. Like it's this weird gray ground that everyone knows it's going to be successful, but how do we continue to make it successful in a certain way, like type thing. So it's like this year is the year where a lot of this shit pops because a lot of these companies, these super PACs are going to be like funded by cannabis companies,
right,
and crypto companies.
Yep.
So like the same way that the oil companies and the tobacco companies and the meat companies and all that shit do it, now you're going to have two new players in the game. In cannabis, like I just said, Indiana made $2 billion in 2023. Yep. That's fucking, that's one state. And not even a big one.
And inevitably what's going to happen in my mind is, the big dogs are going to get involved. And they're going to kind of fuck it up like they did with almost everything else, like the food we eat. You just highlighted all of these things that we now know are actually terribly run, and they're poisoning us, right? Like, I hate to think that this whole Schedule 3 is going to push it in that direction. Something that is so, like, homegrown and from the heart. Something that Native Americans have been using well before we even discovered it was a thing, right? Like, weed dates back to ancient times, right? Like it has been around forever. And I just feel like now with what you're saying, the big dogs are going to take over and they're going to mess it up, whether it's pesticides, whether it's breeding in things that we don't necessarily want bred into them, whatever the case may be. So part of me is looking forward to it being fully legal, but that's the piece that I think is scary.
Do you think the price of the pound is ever going back up?
Yes. And I equate it to the alcohol world, right? Like we're all in New England. People right now that walk or and stand in line for hours to get a 4-pack of some microbrew like drinks, right? Mm-hmm. Like people that do that. I know people that do that. I'm not a drinker, but I know these dudes.
Yep.
Right? So
some right there.
I honestly believe that with education and with the whole spike kind of dying out and plateauing, that the next shoe to drop will be craft cannabis. And it will be in breeding. It will be in getting back to, like we talked about, having a 1-to-1 ratio weed, having a 2-to-1 ratio weed, having things that like really resonate with people as users.
That's kind of the same thing as having an ale, having a stout, having a lager, it's the same.
Yep. It'll be
a cherry wood one, or what the fuck what do they do? And
it'll be the terpene profiles and the balance of that entourage effect.
And there'll be flights.
Right now, everybody's after the 30-40%, right? And I'm sure back in the prohibition days of alcohol, it was like, oh yeah, you could have beer or you could have moonshine, right? Like they refined it and they made it better. And I needed less and I could spend less money and have that same effect. I think that's kind of where we are with weed right now. But I do see a time, and it might be 5 years, it might be longer. But as the education of the plant rises, people's understanding of what works for them rises, I do think that the price of pounds will go up for craft cannabis. There will always be a Budweiser in the weed game that is just pumping out whatever product because it grows well or whatever, and it doesn't matter what terpenes it has.
Blue Dream.
Sure, exactly. And it won't matter because you can grow it and it produces for you, and you can still make a buck off of it. So there will always be what I consider like the Budweiser of the weed game, but there will also be whatever you pointed to up here.
That's Widowmaker Brewing. That's Sense Lives beer, man.
Right. So, the tree houses of the world, all these different various craft beer companies that have really just come online, in the last 5 years?
I'd say it's almost even less than that. And if you really want to be like real about it, like, I don't know, the last like year, it's like blown up to be like what it is.
It took off
like,
huge.
Yeah. Because we're finally like now a couple years into the whole not having to hide. Sure. Anymore, like into like those first couple of years, it was like the first couple of years of the internet. Like nobody wanted to use it. Everyone thought it wasn't going to work.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody was kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. And then little by little, when they seen credit cards being accepted and commercials for it and shit like that, it's like, okay, well, I guess we got to fucking jump on board. So this is the first year you've seen, like you said, people with the LLCs, people with the logos, people with fucking. I mean, it was out before this too, but it's like it seems like it's after the pandemic and shit, it came like all that government money too went into a lot of that shit, like,
right.
Yeah,
and I see the progression of it much like I think alcohol was. I really do. So hopefully it'll continue on that path, just without all the issues that alcohol has had along the way. But yeah, weed as a whole has changed, bro, and we're kind of right in the middle of it right now. You know what I mean? Like, we just talked about it. The infancy of the weed world is still upon us. Like, we are right at the beginning of what could turn into all of these big brands that we've seen. Bud Light, Budweiser, like vodka brands, all this different crazy stuff.
We are right at the beginning of this whole infancy too of Mak-Tube as you're sitting here with us. Hey Matt, can you do me a favor? Can you put the volume in this headphone up? I'm not sure which one it is. Nope, still can't hear you. Still can't hear me. Still can't hear me. I still can't hear me. I don't know which one that is. You want to hit stop for a second?
Is it even plugged in?